All right, so now we're going to really kind of dive into typing out some HTML, the real basic stuff to get started. But something that you should keep in mind as we're doing this, we talked about the layers and how it's the content layer, and all we're doing with HTML is labeling things. And then what we have like here in this screen is essentially all the labels that are out there for us to use. And that's something to kind of keep in the back of your mind is there's a finite amount of HTML elements out there, and these are all of them. And if you think of kind of like the periodic table of elements, just here we got the HTML elements. All of these are the ones that are available for us to use. So we don't have to memorize all of them. The web editor actually helps us do this, but there are ones that you should already recognize. We have HTML, we have the title, we have the head, we have the body, and essentially what we're going to be using is really just the ones that are right over here. The base, the metadata, the sectioning, and the text content is what we'll really be working a lot with. And as we move to the right, we'll use less and less, and it gets more specific to what you're actually doing at that point. So here we're doing video, here we're doing more like scripting, and down off to the, further to the right, we're doing more like forms and that sort of thing where people are interacting. So something to kind of keep in mind as we're doing this. Now, we're going to jump into brackets and actually type in some actual HTML. So we do want to take a look at what we're actually going to make. We are going to make something that looks like this. And to get started, what we need to do is like really look at what we're trying to make and then try to translate that in the HTML. So up at the top we have a link with an H1 is what it's called, and that's referenced in the instructional materials, but it's a top level heading. So we want to kind of have this be an H1. We're going to put the image in a different video, but we're going to have an image here, and then we're going to have an H2 paragraph, H2 paragraph, H2, and then an unordered list, and then an H2, which is heading 2, and then a paragraph. And then we're going to have a last paragraph with a link down here. But we're just going to do some basic stuff here. Now, I already have this stuff typed out, so I'm just going to be copying and pasting. But you will need to type out like the different parts to the different sections that you'll need here. Make sure you proofread it and do a grammar check just for anything that you're doing that you're turning in. So now in brackets. All right. So right after body, I'm going to hit a return, and I'm just going to start with typing a less than sign. And as soon as you do that inside a web editor, it's going to ask, like, it's going to know you're going to start writing HTML. So we know that we want to type in a top level heading. So we type in H, and we get all those headings that we have options for. And we're just going to do the top level one, so an H1. And when we do the greater than sign, it automatically closes. So that way we can actually type in our name at this point for the top level heading. Okay, I'm going to hit a couple returns, and the great thing about HTML is white space doesn't matter in terms of line breaks. So we can add a lot of space in between sections to make it easier for us to read moving forward. So don't be afraid to use some extra returns. So we're going to put an image right in here as well, but we're going to come back to that. So we're going to pick up with H2s. So we want an H2 and then about me. Right, so same thing we just did, and then we're going to put a paragraph, and then this is where I'm going to kind of copy and paste stuff I already have. So I'm going to copy some text and paste it in there, and we have some text. And we're just going to do that a couple more times, so we'll do that really quick here. Career goals. And again, I'm going to copy and paste into a paragraph, right? And not only, and so we're labeling things, right? We're labeling different pieces of content with different HTML tags to provide structure. So headings are more important than paragraphs. And that'll come up actually if you get into this. It's not only for the visual look, but it's also for what's called an SEO or search engine optimization. So for this semester, we're actually going to put an unordered list, so a different type of tag, and I'm going to type that correctly here. So UL, and we're going to hit a couple returns. So this one's a little bit different. So the unordered list is a bulleted list. We're going to put a return in between and tab over, and we need what are called list items. And I'm just going to put item 1 and item 2 in here. I'm not going to put actual content, but you'll need to. But we need a list item or a line item for each there, so that way it'll have the bullets themselves. Okay. And then we're going to finish up with another H2. And then this is the hobbies part. We'll have a paragraph. And then we're going to finish things off down at the bottom here with just our name again, and we'll come back and kind of talk about that. We're going to add a few more things in the next video. But what we've done so far, though, we have all this stuff that's kind of, looking pretty good. We have the H1s and the H2s, paragraphs, H2 paragraph, and we can add in returns here, and it doesn't matter. So we can make it easier to look at if we want to. In between sections, so we can find it later and go from there. And in the next video, what we're going to be doing is kind of adding some more things. But one thing to keep in mind is there is that finite amount of HTML tags. If you don't remember what you're trying to type, you notice that you get a list of all those tags that are in that table, right? And then the other thing too, like you'll notice that if anything turns red, right? So if I forget to put the backslash or something in here that isn't correct, you'll see that it turns red, and that should kind of catch your eye when you're doing this. Is like, okay, something's wrong. So make sure you keep your head up in terms of as you're typing HTML, as you get started, to pay attention to what the web editor is trying to help you with, because it will add things automatically for you, which is a good thing when you know it's happening. So in the next video, what we're going to do is pick up and put in some links and talk about paths.